Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping into some pretty interesting source material today.
We are. It's an article from GB News looking at, well, a complex situation in UK politics right now.
Yeah, focusing on three specific bills that are currently making their way through the system.
And that article really flags this court tension, doesn't it? Critics are arguing these bills could seriously impact free speech.
While the government and other proponents are saying, no, these are actually necessary for safety and protection.
Exactly. That's the line they're taking.
Okay, so let's try and unpack what this source material lays out. Our aim here is to pull out the main arguments, the claims and counterclaims, so you can get a sense of what these different viewpoints think is at stake.
And the article does note, the government says it's committed to free speech, but critics point to certain actions.
Like initially shelving that academic freedom legislation.
Right, and introducing these bills specifically, that's raised concerns for them.
Okay, so the first one the source highlights. The Crime and Policing Bill. Government goal is the Safer Streets mission. But what's the snag, according to this piece?
Well, the main concern highlighted is about potentially reversing limits on recording NCHIs.
NCHIs, non-criminal hate incidents.
Exactly. So the worry is police might log incidents someone perceives as hateful, even if no law was actually broken.
And the critics mentioned in the article are quite vocal about this. Groups like the Free Speech Union, Fair Cop.
Yeah, they're quoted suggesting it could infringe civil liberties. They even bring up Article 10 of the ECHR.
Which is the right to freedom of expression, just for context.
Precisely. The article quotes Toby Young calling it, I think the word was bonkers, to investigate non-crimes to reduce actual crime.
And there's an amendment proposed, too.
Yes, by Chris Philp, trying to explicitly make it illegal to collect or keep that NCHI data if there's no actual law broken.
Okay, so that's the criticism side. What about the government's justification, as the source presents it?
Well, according to the Home Office spokesperson, they quote, "It's seen as vital to capture this NCHI data sometimes."
When it's proportionate and necessary.
Right, to prevent potentially serious future crimes. They point to rises in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents as context.
Okay, clear disagreement there. The article says this bill's past initial stages, waiting for a third reading. Let's switch to the Employment Rights Bill. Stated goal.
Helping people stay in work, boosting productivity, improving living standards, standard stuff.
But the focus in the article is Clause 20, nicknamed the banter ban by critics. What's that about?
It could make employers liable if their staff are harassed by third parties, so customers, general public.
And employers would need to take all reasonable steps to protect them.
That's the wording. And this is where Lord Toby Young's banter ban quote comes in.
Because,
as he apparently sees it, it might mean employers policing, casual chats, jokes, maybe opinions overheard by staff from customers that the staff find offensive based on protected characteristics.
like race, religion, gender, that sort of thing.
Exactly. But the government's view, according to the article, is that this is needed for employees in public-facing roles who do face harassment from third parties. Overheard stuff. Behavior.
So necessary protection versus potential overreach into casual chat. That's the tension. This one's in the Lords Committee stage, the source says. Okay, third one. Children's Well-Being in Schools Bill. Goal. Enhance child safety, safeguarding.
And the controversial bit the article flags is Clause 44 about home education.
Right. It would mean parents need local authority consent the first time they pull a child out of school for home ed.
And this, well, it rings alarm bells for the critics cited. They fear parents could be fined, maybe even imprisoned, if authorities don't like their home education plan.
The article quotes someone on X saying parents could be criminalized if officials disapprove. A fear of kids being pushed into censorious and illiberal systems.
Yeah, families are described as feeling anxious, distrusted. A. Miles from the Home Education Alliance is quoted, and Lord Young, again, urging evidence over ideology.
And the government's justification. Strong words from the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson.
Yes, quoted saying opposing the bill means opposing child safety and their future. Pretty stark.
So again, a real clash. Safeguarding measure versus state intrusion on parental choice. This one's also in the Lords Committee stage.
Things like it.
Okay, so let's pull this together based on the GB News source. Critics are looking at these three bills: crime and policing, employment rights, children's well-being, and seeing a pattern, maybe. An expansion of state power, policing expression.
Yeah, in areas like non-crime incidents, workplace chat, home education choices, that seems to be the core concern presented.
Whereas the government, as reported here, frames them quite differently, as essential for public safety, protecting workers, safeguarding kids.
Absolutely. The article really lays out those opposing views on, well, the necessity and the likely impact of these laws.
It's definitely a complicated picture emerging from this source material, with very strong feelings on both sides.
No doubt about that.
So as societies constantly try to find that balance, between safety, order, and individual freedoms, here's something to think about based on what we've discussed from this source. When legislation touches these really sensitive areas, potentially offensive speech, educational choices, where should that line actually be drawn? And maybe more importantly, who gets to decide?